So for this episode, I think it's just important for us to add a spoiler warning. Usually we don't, but I guess for this and particularly for Tenet by Christopher Nolan, we just heads up, full on spoilers. Yeah, we don't hold back.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too. Use it carefully.
Hey, welcome to CC Talk Talk, a podcast where we see and talk about life and its stories through games, books, songs, but mostly movies. Today with me I have Delton again.
Hello.
But before we start, I just want to say that thank you again for bearing with our mediocre audio quality in the last few episodes. The reason why we had a slight pause in the last week is because I've been really putting quite a bit of effort to try to understand how to edit audio better, how to work out the hardware better, and we're going to get an audio interface and another mic in to make us sound as good as possible. So yeah, we're going to start. Today with the episode, we're going to talk about Tenet, but actually, primarily, we want to talk about Nolan more than Tenet. And before we go into that, we're just going to cover a bit of news, and I think we have to just cover the DC news, the DC fandom. Right? Yeah, it's called fandom.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the whole convention, online convention, is called the DC fandom.
Sorry, I'm in the dark for all these comic book movie conventions, so yeah, it's all news to me.
So the trailer of The Batman came out. Robert Pattinson.
Wear a mask on your face, not just the eyes.
Mouth. But it looks really good considering that it's made out of like what 20% of what the whole film is supposed to
Right, yeah.
Right? I guess it wasn't really much of a trailer if you ask me personally.
Sizzle reel, more so like that.
Yeah, but I think it looks good, intriguing. Colin Farrell is unrecognizable behind those makeup, which I agree with some people who said that you just might as well hire an actor who actually looks like that instead. But sure, why not, right? Why not?
Method acting.
Yeah, so, and the Wonder Woman trailer came out. What do you think about that?
Oh, it was okay. I mean, I'm not too big on Wonder Woman as a whole. I did like the first movie.
Yeah.
Even though I thought the final 20 minutes squandered the first half of the entire film.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one looks alright. I think it's going to be another massive hit for Warner Brothers. Of course, and you've heard the news that it's going to be as long as Batman
Almost as long
as Batman vs Superman. To me, it's like that's typical superhero stuff. They want to make it as epic as possible. But yeah, again, we'll see.
I have a huge question. If you're a DC fan, someone please explain to me the power levels here, because I'm really confused how Wonder Woman requires a full golden kick-ass armor to fight Cheetah. Because if I'm not mistaken, through the games I've played and the few DC comics I've read, Cheetah isn't the most powerful of bad guys lah. She has a huge beef with Wonder Woman for some alpha predator thing, but I don't remember her being so powerful that Wonder Woman requires a full bodysuit of armor.
I don't think she's the real villain. I'm calling it now, but we'll see.
But yeah, that's just one small thing. And I guess we have to talk about the Snyder Cut.
Oh.
It's gonna be 4 hours long, split into 4 episodes, right?
Yes.
And exclusively on HBO Max.
Yes.
Delton here called this about a year ago in a conversation that we had. He said that he told me to watch out, the Snyder Cut will be tapped and will be released for HBO Max's grand launch.
Yeah, it's part of a whole marketing thing because the whole streaming wars. We got Amazon, we got Netflix, which are the kingpins at this point, and now Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Soon to arrive at our shores, and our HBO Max. So of course Warner Brothers needs some big new event to basically make this thing solid. So there you go, the Snyder Cut.
What better way? I mean, everyone has been asking for it, I guess, and this is a very smart move if you think about marketing.
Of course. And yeah, more props to Warner Brothers to actually release Zack Snyder's complete original vision. I mean,
they owe him, man.
I know. Say what you will about the movies he made, like Batman vs Superman, and of course,
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel was alright, but Batman vs Superman especially. I'm not gonna say the theatrical cut of Justice League because as new news came out, it wasn't really his film per se. But Every filmmaker needs to have their vision fully seen.
And
So
I really think that Warner Brothers owe it to him.
Agree.
For what they did to him was not fun at all.
completely agree. Yeah, what they did to him was pretty like they threw him under a bus after he left due to a family tragedy. So yeah, I'm not too excited to see it, to be honest, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious to see how it will go.
I really hope for Snyder's sake actually that it will turn out well.
Yeah.
If it doesn't turn out well, oh my god, all that for like what? I don't know. Darkseid looks okay, I guess. I don't know, but that could be like a pre-final render form. So well, we'll see. We'll see. It definitely looks like a Snyder movie.
Well, if that doesn't work out, he'll still have Netflix and his zombie trilogy to work out on.
No comment on that. So okay, we're done with the news. And now we're going to start with our main part of this episode. And I'm really looking forward to it because I mean, with every Christopher Nolan movie, there's just bound to be a lot of things to talk about.
Right.
And we both watched Tenet. We risked our lives because we just had to go watch the Grandmasters movie. And I'm just gonna throw it out there that I came out a bit disappointed lah. I just no way to hide it. But because it's Nolan, I expected a certain level of filmmaking, and I didn't get it with Tenet. So that's like me throwing it out there at the very beginning lah. We're gonna break it down, of course.
Ouch.
What do you think? You watch it as well?
I actually enjoyed the movie. I came in with zero expectations because I know Nolan. Sometimes I'm not as big as a Nolan fan as a lot of other people here, but I respect his craft. Sometimes he can be brilliant, and sometimes he can be infuriating. In this movie, especially, he comes out both at his best and at his worst. Now, what I like about Tenet is that it has this big blockbustery cinematic feel. Obviously, this was the movie that was touted as the one to save cinema in all these troubled times. But to me, it's like this is like a fun popcorn summer blockbuster. Definitely, genuinely entertaining big screen experience to be sure. I was entertained. At times I was admiring Christopher Nolan's craft. However, I felt that the story could have been written a little bit better. I felt that
A bit, a lot better.
I can see a lot of people not liking this movie for the reasons that you're about to divulge into. But for me, I was entertained. I found it entertaining in that little ironically brainless sort of way, but not too brainless.
Yeah.
Like the story is brainless, but the technique isn't. If that makes sense. But so on that level, I enjoyed it.
I mean, one thing I have to say, a disclaimer here is that the only reason why I'm so harsh or I'm going to criticize it so much is because I really like his movies. I'm a big fan of his work, especially because of The Prestige, which actually made me started watching a lot more movies. So I'm sorry, this criticism comes from a place of love actually. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's the standards that he has set himself with the films that he's made lah. Yeah, and like what Dalton said, technically Tenet was amazing lah. I have to say.
Stupendous.
Non-CGI shots of planes crashing into buildings and all that, like a fist fight that moves backward and forwards at the same time is pretty cool. The behind the scenes will be really nice to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd love to see the making of this movie just to see how some of the shots were achieved. Some of the shots are actually genuinely incredible to see.
Especially the part where the building blows up.
Yeah, the building rebuilds itself and then blows up again. So I'm like, how the hell did they achieve that shot? I need to see it, And it's, because I saw it in IMAX, I'm like, wow, that's actually quite a clever trick Nolan pulled off.
So technically that movie is good. There's no doubt lah. I think
it's a technical marvel, but of course a lot of people will disagree with the sound mix, which you'll get into later.
Yeah. So since he brought that up, my very big beef with the movie is that the sound mix is horrible. Everyone sounds like Bane in Dark Knight Rises, and that's a bad thing, with or without the mask. Okay, it's really bad. I'm not saying that the soundtrack is bad. I'm saying the sound mix is bad.
Right.
The soundtrack is fine. I'm pretty interested in it, and then it plays backwards and forward also.
Göransson's work is great. I think he could be like the new Hans Zimmer. But anyways, you were saying.
Yeah. So the sound mix is bad. Problem here is that it plays when the characters are talking, and if you watch a Nolan film, the soundtrack is booming and it's just overwhelming. I'm actually fine with that. I love it. Like Interstellar, I love it. But the problem here is that he doesn't use it during only the action sequences. He uses it when they're talking about the concept and ideas of time travel and all that. And it doesn't help that the actors are mostly wearing masks or they're mumbling and talking really fast. and half the time I couldn't catch what they were saying. And I'm not the only one who's been complaining. I've been checking out like other reviewers and all, and it's quite a known issue with Tenet lah. I really have a big problem with this.
Not just with Tenet. I think all of Nolan's films ever since Dark Knight Rises
Yeah.
have that issue of sounding too loud than they actually should. Interstellar, I know you love Interstellar, but one of my main issues with Interstellar was actually the sound, to be honest, because Hans Zimmer and his tendency to create big, loud, bombastic music in Interstellar. That extended organ key nearly deafened me because I saw it in the Navy Pier IMAX theater in Chicago. So that's like the best sound system imaginable. Nearly deafened me. It was like, oh good lord, that's loud,
The voices in Tenet, right, were cracking the IMAX speakers. Why even? I don't understand.
Really?
Not kidding, man. I can hear the speakers crackling.
Oh my
Those
goodness.
scenes where they're wearing a mask, that gas mask, and they're talking through it. So I think he did what he did with Bane, where to compensate the muffled voices, he increased the volume of the voices in the mask, and because of that, and it's competing with the overwhelming soundtrack, everything adds up. It's just a horrible sound mix experience, man. I don't get it. I can't accept that. Oh, if they're going to say that because they're talking through a mask or talking through a speaker or a walkie-talkie, and that's muffling the voice, and if that's their excuse, I can't accept it because other movies have done it. Like they're in a helicopter and then they're talking through that helmet.
The headpiece. Yeah.
And it sounds perfectly clear even though you have the helicopter.
I mean, it makes sense because they're wearing a headpiece and then you can hear them clearly. But this one,
same thing. They're communicating through mask, which means that they have a receiver in their mask. That's how do you communicate? You see.
I did not have a similar issue with yours at my screening. To me, yes, it did sounded loud and sometimes a bit overbearing at times. But I did not have that issue where you mentioned like the voices were too muffled or the voices were crackling. I don't know whether it's due to the sound mix being incompatible with certain theatre halls.
No idea.
Or whether somebody somewhere screwed up. So I don't know.
It really took away from the movie for me. Like the last monologue by the bad guy, Sator.
Oh, Kenneth Branagh. Yeah.
Sator lah, whatever.
Just call him Gilderoy Lockhart.
Sure. So yeah, when he was giving his big villain speech about his grand plan and his philosophy about being God and all that, I only heard like half of it, and half the time I'm like, what are you talking? And the music is rising because it's the climax of the movie, and I'm like, no, what are you talking? And then it's so fast, and the next thing I know, it's all over, and I'm like, man,
that is strange. I don't know. In my screening, the audio was very clear. I don't know. I don't know whether people got different decibels.
Maybe the projectionist is a big fan of Nolan and Hans Zimmer, and then it's like, oh, Nolan film, dial it up to 11. Shit, me.
I certainly hope that is not the case because it's a shame if that were to happen.
Yeah, that took away quite a lot of the enjoyment of the movie because I was struggling to keep up with the monologues and the explanation on the theories and all, and with the sound just booming behind all the dialogue, it's really hard to enjoy it lah. But okay, enough of the sound mix lah.
Now onto the story.
Yeah, onto the story and characters. Okay, so we're done technically, it's great. I think we don't have to compliment it enough because everyone knows how good he can be with that. But I guess we start with the characters lah.
Yeah.
Right? After the movie, I remember I went back home talking to my wife about the movie, talking to my friend about the movie, and then we were like, hey, it's Neil. Neil is who Robert Pattinson plays. So we're like, yeah, Neil, and then the main guy, the black guy. I'm sorry I have to say that. But yeah.
just call him Denzel Jr.
Yeah, and then we were like, hey, what's the guy's name? Huh? And then we actually had to Google, and I'm like, shit, he doesn't have a name. He's called the protagonist.
He literally calls himself the protagonist, and that's what he's credited as.
Oh my god. Okay, if there's a purpose to it, right? If he is like a vessel or something, and it's explain in the movie why, like maybe James Bond, let's say if he has no name, he's just called 007.
Yeah.
And that's because he is a spy and he shouldn't have an identity.
Code name.
Yeah, makes sense. So if the protagonist, in whatever reason that Nolan can give us, has no name, sure, why not? But no, there's no reason.
Literally the protagonist.
Even though if his first name is Potter and his family name is Gurnis, I'm fine with it. Whatever. But
I
no.
get you.
Yeah, okay, so that's just a small issue, small part of a big issue in this.
I think that was probably the beginning of seeing Nolan being a bit too obnoxious with his writing. I'm sorry to say
Yeah.
but he's never really had a like most of the characters that he's written outside of the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception have never really felt deep. I know a lot of people would argue Interstellar has a lot of character, but I actually did not like Interstellar because of the final 30 minutes. I thought it was very saccharine. Like he didn't really follow through with the character development as in a way I thought the potential of the previous 2 hours set up. But in Tenet, it felt quite hollow the way the characters were written.
Yeah.
You did not really connect with them. I think the closest character that we actually felt like sorry for was Elizabeth Debicki.
Cat.
She played Cat. Yeah, she
Yeah.
played Cat. That was the closest thing we actually felt to actual humanity
Yeah.
in the whole film. Because like you said, John David Washington's character, literally the protagonist, he's just a placeholder for the audience.
There's no reason to relate to him or like him or hate him. He's just happens. And things happen around him and with him. Oh my god, like I remember talking to Dalton earlier before we did this. I couldn't brain and understand why he cares about Cat so much. Why does he care about Cat and her son so much? They could have just do a small flashback or snippet at the beginning where he lost his own son or he lost his nephew.
Or he saved someone.
Yeah, or he saved someone, or maybe he talks to Neil and he says that I wish I could make a difference to someone instead of the whole world. Something like that. I don't know, there's so many ways you can explain why he cares about cats so much.
This is where I come in and stress the importance of having cliches, because the way I see it, Nolan is trying to write the action hero character, but he's trying to avoid the cliches that come with the characters, like, oh, I have a dark and tragic past, I'm compelled to help out this wife and kid. He just scrubs that all away and he's like, oh, I'm just helping her out here. So it's like,
if
what?
your movie has no time for character development and you rely on cliche, I think it's fine because you just need to show something for people to hook on to, and then
I don't mind cliches, just do them well.
Yeah,
that's it.
Correct. Man, it's bad. And I think the best character emotionally would be Elizabeth Debicki's character Cat.
Yeah.
But I have a huge issue with how she's introduced to the movie. That whole convoluted plot about her. She bought a pirated painting and then that's used against her to hold her ransom against her son. Oh my god! And then Washington, the main character, the protagonist, has to go and find that painting just to meet up with her, just to meet up with him. I mean, that is easily 10 minutes of the movie, which could be used to elaborate more on the plot and the characters. So, oh my gosh, I don't know about the characters, man.
It was a little bit drawn out, I had to say, for that segment.
Yeah.
I didn't really dislike it as much as you did, but I felt like this could have been trimmed off by a few minutes.
I'm sorry, but again, another disclaimer is because I'm a writer and I'm actually struggling to write my own novel. So when I see big budget $1 million movies being written this way and me over here struggling to write a plot that makes sense, right, I find it really hard to accept because there are so many writers out there who are struggling to get a job, and I'm pretty sure they can do a better job than what Tenet did with the characters. And it's just so sad to see. I feel like Jonathan Nolan, right? Yeah, that's Christopher Nolan's brother, who he used to work with up to Inception or Interstellar.
Up to, I think, Interstellar.
Yeah.
Is it?
Anyway,
I could be mistaken,
at one point, the brother stopped working with Nolan on good reasons. And since then, his character started to feel very hollow, like what you said. And I cannot with Tenet. I cannot with the characters. There's no development. There's no reason to like them or hate them. You can't relate to them in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, the stakes at the end didn't hit me as much. Like whereas in his previous movies, even in Interstellar, which is really a space epic, or Inception, which is an epic, the characters you have something to latch on, at least. Like in Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, that you can actually understand the stakes that Leo DiCaprio's character was facing in Inception.
The fight scene or the fight sequence or whatever you want to call the finale wasn't that huge in terms of scale or like 200 soldiers fighting each another. It was just like 5 people. But because of the stakes at risk, you felt like it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
And this is where our segue back into Tenet again. No, I should say I invert back into Tenet's last fight scene or whatever you got the battle sequence in that Russian stock 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
That Siberian town, Gulag town.
Yeah, it's like the total opposite of what I love in Inception. Instead of giving big stakes that increases such a personal and intimate scene, he gives us a huge scene with minimal stakes, and it feels so hollow. Oh man!
I mean, I know you have issues with the staging for some of these battle sequences. I actually kind of agree with you that he may need to work on how he stages epic battle sequences. The same thing happened to a lesser extent in the Dark Knight Rises and
the town hall, right?
The town hall scene and Dunkirk.
Yeah.
But this one is more prevalent, even though some scenes more than make up for the flaws.
Yeah, that final battle, it felt so jumbled and pieced together. It's like they had a bunch of cool ideas and they're like, let's just do this so that we can show these cool ideas.
Let's just throw them all in without any setup whatsoever.
I mean, okay, they fly there, suddenly it's a huge battle, sure. Time pincer, and then they're attacking from...
temporal pincer movement.
Cool idea, sure, why not? But then when the battle plays out, right, there's just a bunch of people running aimlessly, like you have no sense of geography, which is a bad thing already, and they're shooting air. You don't see the bad guys dying, you see them shooting, they're like hiding behind obstacles and they're shooting, and you don't see people dying.
One or two you see them dying, one of them get blown up by rocket launch.
Oh man, it's so bad. If you ever watch analysis video, like Dutton has mainly watched so many on action movies, right? One of the main complaints for a lot of bad action movies is that the main characters are shooting air.
Yeah.
It's even worse than shooting red shirts. Okay, when I say red shirts, what I mean is like Kambing Korban in Malaysia, that's what you call it. So if you watch John Wick, right, he kills tons of generic looking people in suits.
Right, but you see the body count.
Yeah. Or even Lord of the Rings, right, you use orcs as the hero needs to kill 10 people before he reaches his goal. So we just throw in these 10 random orcs. And sure, why not?
And you show them dying,
But in Tenet, no, you don't even get that. You get air.
You get explosions.
And it's bad. You have no sense of progress in the battle.
The action geography needs a bit of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's brilliant, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's brilliant. The double exploding building, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to scratch your head and say, why was this shot? I mean, it looks great, but the editing and the choreography needs a lot of work.
Yeah, and like what you said, Dunkirk earlier reminded me that in Dunkirk, right, the best moments in Dunkirk were the most intimate scenes where it's like just 5 of them inside that boat and they're just struggling in there, or there are 2 people on the waters choking each another. And that was the greatest moments of Dunkirk. Not the big scenes where there's 100 people on screen. Yeah, sure, on paper and production it sounds good. 200 extras on set as all of them run in multiple directions. Sorry, in inverted directions. And this didn't look good.
Where Dunkirk worked and Tenet failed, Dunkirk was actually less of a narrative film and more experimental, definitely less characters, less dialogue, because again, it felt cold and detached, but in a way it actually adds to the realism of the film. Like, I understand a lot of people feel like, how come there's no backstory for this character? I'm like, you're getting bombarded.
It's fine,
It's fine. You're getting bombarded by the enemy. There's no time to think and get familiar with your fellow men. Just run, get the hell out of there. That's the whole mood of Dunkirk. Tenet is basically Nolan trying to dump all this exposition on you, and this is his biggest weakness. He likes to put all this expositionary dialogue onto characters and then just leaves it there without much explanation.
It's done well. Okay.
Yeah, if it's
no
done
problem.
well, like Inception and the Dark Knight trilogy, then yes, by all means, it's great, and the Prestige, like you said. But like you can see sometimes Interstellar and now Tenet, like he's getting a bit obnoxious with it. Sad to say, like I hate to say it because I admire Nolan's craft, but
So continuing from that, right? The scenes where they are explaining all that time mumbo jumbo, time inversion, like the first scene where he's introduced to a time inverted bullet, right? I have a huge issue here where the scientist is explaining to him really technical terms about laws of physics and all that, and then the protagonist is just like, yeah, let's go. No, that's not how it works. Especially if the character that you're speaking to is not well versed in what you're talking about. Naturally, in real life, if you talk about something complicated, it's only natural for the receiver to rephrase what you said, even though if it's in layman terms or whatever, to show that okay, is this what you're saying? Okay, now I get what you're saying, and it will help the audience understand all that
Right.
techno mumbo jumbo. But no, no, there was no time given to absorb any of it.
Cliche, because you have a character in any movie saying, can you speak in English? You know, or
Yeah,
can
I
you
get that, I get.
Can you repeat that to me in English?
It's
And
like
then,
Pacific Rim.
yeah,
Charlie, the Charlie Hunnam's character, well, he just did that the whole movie. I get it, but you need, if your show is so complicated, you need a way to dial it down a bit for the audience lah. At least a bit.
I think Nolan overcompensates his audience sometimes.
And this is where, for me, where I said earlier that because Nolan himself carries a certain standard, right?
Right.
And so because of that, I can't help but analyze his movie, scrutinize it, and break it down as much as I want to because it's Nolan and he accepts it. He even welcomes it. He wants the audience to think and work as you watch his movie, right?
Right, yeah.
So this is where I have a problem with Tenet as a time travel movie. Time loop or time travel, whatever you want to call it lah. Okay, there's just two ways to go about a time travel movie lah, right? You either go really detailed, you break down all your rules that your characters and your world is working in about time travel, and you follow it to the T because time travel is a complicated thing to execute. Or you can do what Back to the Future did and don't give a shit about the rules of time travel, just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. You can play a bit of the time loop and how you meet your past and all that. But don't delve into the details and the science behind it. But in Tenet, they did it multiple times with laws of physics explained and all the entropy nonsense. So if Nolan wanted to do that, he has to make sure that he has it down solidly lah. And especially at the end when Neil did that multiple time travel thing, and a lot of things is largely unexplained. And it doesn't help that the laws of his version of time travels are not clear, and it just leaves a very unsatisfying taste in my tongue at the end of the movie. I didn't, because it's Nolan. I love his concepts. I love how he adds his own flavor to like memories in Inception, or like magic tricks in The Prestige, or even Memento, which is basically time and memory at the same time. So in Tenet, it was just a normal time travel movie, and that got me a bit disappointed with it lah. In terms of its concepts.
I think for me, this is where our views differ slightly on the movie. I felt that although the concept could have been explored a little bit better, like you said, more fleshed out, I still think Nolan actually created his own sort of internal logic within the movie. Like he created this frame, like the framework and the rules that he set up. And I know like there could have been a lot more done with it, but at the same time I didn't feel that he violated those rules. Like I didn't feel like, oh, this character did something that's illogical and contradicts what
he didn't do that.
Yeah, he didn't do that. So yeah, I felt like there was some sort of weird internal logic going on with the film. It actually compelled me to watch further. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of smart. Some moments were like that could have been explained better. There were other moments which like, oh wow, that is actually very clever, not in a term of concept but in terms of Nolan's storytelling skill. So I would compare him to like Alfred Hitchcock in a way that how he manipulates the audience into believing what you're seeing is actually happening, like trying to evoke like a sense of awe. And for the most part in Tenet, that's where he succeeded. And I didn't think of it as much of a time travel movie. I thought of it as basically the James Bond movie that Nolan never got to make, because as you know, Nolan has never hid his love for the James Bond franchise. And going back to that final battle of in Tenet, he was actually trying to recreate the final battle of the epic Bond films, You Only Live Twice, Spy Who Loved Me, and Moonraker. Ironically, all three from the same director, Louis Gilbert. So he's trying to create this sense of epic scale and raid the final villain's lair, to save the world. So the whole thing is basically James Bond with time
You
travel.
mentioned it, like Inception's final raid in the mountains,
Yeah.
right? Actually, yeah, it's like a Bond film.
It's taken off from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It really is like a love letter to his to James Bond, or at least his audition letter to James Bond. He might have a script written somewhere in case the Bond producers call him up. I don't know.
But that's the problem here, because of the marketing, whether it's Nolan's choice or a board, Warner Brothers again lah, you see lah. I don't know whose decision was it, but the trailers. Okay, I didn't watch any of the trailers, only the first one that was ever announced. And throughout the marketing, all the posters and all, the idea of time travel or time inversion is pushed quite heavily, right? And because of that, I feel that my expectations were misled in a lot of ways. Because if I saw it from like what you said, view it as a spy thriller, which has time travel in it, I think my reaction to it would be actually much better than a time travel movie based in a spy movie.
Right.
Because I expected so much time play, and it's Nolan lah. I mean, sorry, but like I said, his name comes with certain baggages for better or for worse. And I really expected a huge time thing. And then in the first scene where time travel or time inversion is introduced, it's a time inverted bullet. And personally, when I saw that, I'm like, that's freaking cool. Catching an object moving backwards in time. That's amazing. I was like, in the hall, I was like, oh, this is something I can latch onto and really see going far. So throughout the whole show, I expected like a time inverted gunfight. Like I was telling you earlier, like the bad guy is hiding behind a box and then he can't hit the bad guy. But because he shot a bullet behind the box in the future or in the past, and then he time inverts the bullet to hit the guy behind the box. Something like that, something cool, or he jumps off a bridge and then he time inverts himself back onto the bridge. Like the manipulation of time, and I really expected to see that. But no, I didn't get any of it. And that left me, like I said, a bit disappointed that none of the concepts were pushed. And I feel that if he didn't even introduce the idea of time inversion, just take that outright of the movie, just go as a spy time travel movie, I think it would be much better, because I wouldn't have like, give me more time inversion. I was just like, okay, cool, time travel, let's go with it.
Right.
So, man.
It wasn't just James Bond, by the way, that he was channeling. I have a strong suspicion that Nolan is actually recreating versions of his favorite 90s movies, like Interstellar.
Why not?
It was his version of Contact, and now with Tenet, it's basically his version of Time Cop. So, Time Cop.
When you said Time Cop is a better movie?
No, Time Cop is very cheesy. It's very entertaining, but it's very cheesy. But the concepts in Tenet is much better than Time Cop, and the action is definitely better executed. But this definitely feels like a James Bond movie with time travel. I took it on that level. On that, I really enjoyed it.
Well, one last thing I just have to say. if I'm going to see Tenet as an action movie, right? Even that, I'm disappointed. Like the first trailer showed, I mean, even if you avoid all trailers, it's almost impossible not to see the car flipping in reverse in some of the marketing material. So when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, give me like the Matrix highway scene in reverse, and that would be killer. But then when you watch the movie, it was just that one car that flipped backwards. And this is where marketing comes into play. If the trailers did not show that, it might have been cool. But because the trailers showed you that, you will feel like, oh, that's a teaser to a bigger scene that's going to come up. But no, that was just it in the scene.
It was the climax. Yeah. So a lot of trailers do that, especially nowadays in Hollywood. You sell the big moments. This is why I completely, even that first trailer, like I completely shut off all like windows to see that trailer. In any chance I get, I've only seen the first trailer and I just block myself off from every single thing.
Disappointing, right? Because the first teaser trailer for Interstellar was great. Didn't show anything about the movie. Inception was great as well, because they showed big moments. You still had no idea what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah.
Dunkirk also was great because it just showed you how despairing the film would be, but they didn't show any of the big moments.
Yeah, it just showed the soldiers looking up and then just ducking, and that's it. It's a teaser. That's cool.
So that's why I thought that Tenet would be fine to watch the first teaser trailer, but no, F me this.
Oh my god. I think like Nolan is probably aware that he himself has become a brand. Like a lot of, like you said, a lot of like baggage or expectations have been set up just by his name alone. So a lot of film fans, like fans of Nolan, will put Tenet up to a pedestal, or at least certain point that when it does come out, where okay, now it's already out.
Yeah.
But once it released, and now we're getting this lukewarm reception. I'm not really surprised because the marketing. I recently rewatched the trailers again.
Yeah.
They really dropped the ball on the marketing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I did the same thing, and yes, they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
That's why we did another podcast with our friend Jeffrey, and in that podcast we talked about things that we wish we did or didn't know about a movie before we watched it. And one of the things that we talk about here is actually about Nolan's name appearing in the movie's marketing. That podcast will be released after this. It was a bit slow because we have a lot of audio issues with that podcast. So anyway, there's something that we talk about in that podcast is actually that in the next Nolan movie, it would be really interesting if his name didn't appear in the marketing. Like enough of that. Like you said, maybe Nolan himself acknowledges that he is a brand already, right? So maybe for the sake of the audience and himself, don't put that by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just release a trailer. You can say it's Warner Brothers. You can even say maybe it's by Christopher, because there's so many Christophers out there. I mean, whatever it is. Sometimes some movies don't even say it's by who, right?
Yeah.
Some movies they don't. So just play the trailer and then let it play, do the marketing, whatever. And then maybe just before the movie starts, when it's released, right, you come out with the word by Christopher Nolan. Imagine the impact you will get. Oh man.
Right.
That'd be insane.
But yeah, again, going to your point, like to have a director remove his name from marketing, especially like a well-known director, the only time that's ever happened is M. Night Shyamalan. And we all know what happened to his career after The Village, especially just nosedive. And The Last Airbender was like nearing the coffin. And then when After Earth came out, like, oh, Jaden Smith and Will Smith. Okay, not bad. Who's the director? No, none of the posters show it. Like only the trailers, you get to see just a very small glimpse at the very end where all the credits come out. It's like directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Like, oh no, you know, already because his name is already carrying, it's not just baggage, he's carrying a stigma.
Yeah.
So you see why he opted not to include his name in marketing. The movie ended up being terrible anyways. So like, yeah, that you
But
have,
Nolan has a good statement.
Nolan has a good statement, but I fear that if he continues down this path, he might end up the way Shyamalan did.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I really do not want to see, because Nolan is an exceptional filmmaker. I just wish that he dialed it down on like his own concepts from time to time and just deliver something straightforward. I want to see him do something like Insomnia again, you know, or even Bond. Let him do the next Bond with the new actor once Daniel Craig leaves.
Yeah. Right now we're going to talk. I really want to not just talk about Tenet, but talk about Nolan's future.
Yeah.
In many ways, and like what you said, if he continues on like this, he's gonna M. Night Shyamalan himself. Right?
You're Shyamalan.
I'm sorry, Shyamalan, but
I know Shyamalan's on the way up already.
yeah,
So yeah.
we love Glass. Just putting out there. It's just that like everyone knows that he had that downtime.
We're one of the few people who actually love Glass genuinely. So
we really love it. I teared at the end of Glass. I really like that show. So okay, back to Nolan. Like what do you want to see from Nolan moving forward? For me personally, I really hope he dials it down. Enough of this big, epic, crazy or operatic things, and then
he can do it, but just take a break from it. You know? Give time to recharge.
yeah, I feel like he really should go back to his roots, where the stories are very personal, you know, like The Prestige.
Memento.
Yeah, but of course keep his time memory thing, keep his plot twist, but you don't have to go big to be bigger. You can go small and then keep it really personal and heartfelt, and it could be as big as any of these operatic
I think
things.
like, going back to Tenet a bit, like Tenet was in a way a combination of all of the movies Nolan has made in the past. Like you see Memento,
The worst parts of it lah.
both the
The
best,
best
and
parts
worst.
of it stripped off all the heart. Then but sorry, go ahead.
I know. Yeah. Like you say, the Memento going backwards and forwards at the same time. Literally, we're seeing characters going backwards and forwards at the same time. And then, of course, the big scale action from the Dark Knight trilogy, concept of time, Interstellar and Inception, a dream within a dream, and all that. And then, of course, the spy genre, Inception, in a way. So it's basically a combination of everything Nolan all in one. It's just like you said, without
The heart.
much of the heart, without much of the soul. The spectacle is there.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. The spectacle is still
Spectacle
there. The
is there.
score is great. Like Ludwig Göransson, again, very bombastic soundtrack. But honestly, I feel like this is one of Nolan's, sorry to say, lesser efforts.
Yeah.
But
again, a lesser Nolan effort is still miles better than a lot of
Correct.
Hollywood fare
Yes,
coming out today.
That is undeniable.
Yeah.
I will even go as far to say that if this movie was not the first post-COVID movie, well, not post-COVID,
Post-COVID, still in it.
post-lockdown, we're still in it. The post-full lockdown movie, it would have easily been Nolan's most forgettable movie for me. Like I think within a week, people will just stop talking about it, and that's done. If we are in different times, you know.
Yeah.
And I really think that's the case.
And now people are hoping this movie would save cinema. Do I think it will save cinema? Maybe. The reception is
just by Nolan's name alone, I think.
Just by Nolan's name alone, and the fact that box office receipts in Asia and Europe are doing considerably well, I think it could save cinema. Just I hope that it would be a much better movie to do it.
Correct.
This wowed me, but I didn't wow me.
And with Nolan, there will be always a small conversation about watching the movie twice or three times to understand it. The problem with Tenet is that I found that if I want to watch it again, it's not because it's so complex like Inception or Memento, but it's very jumbled and complicated. Like, I couldn't catch things, and that's why I want to rewatch it so that to understand it, but to catch the things that I missed because I just couldn't hear what the characters were speaking. In terms of concept and ideas, it's pretty linear. And actually, to Nolan's credit, he actually did make time travel quite understandable in a very streamlined way, actually. So in terms of concept, there's nothing much to rewatch to understand actually.
It's basically a more linear and easier version of Primer, and of course a lot more explosions. If you haven't seen Primer, go see Primer. It's definitely fuck your brain up.
Can, no problem. I'm okay to express.
But on the note of Tenet, on going back to what you said on not finding it as linear as it should, I'm in the minority here, but I actually got everything from the first go.
I agree.
So I understood what was going on. Maybe again the audio mix on your end might be a little bit screwed up, but it was very clear to me what was going on, which a lot of my friends asked me, "What's wrong with you? How did you understand it from the first go?" I said, "I just found it very linear."
But when they say they don't understand it, right? Did they not understand the concept, or they did not understand what was happening?
Both. Some of it did not understand the concept.
Because for me, I did not understand what was happening, not the concept. The concept is perfectly fine.
No, I knew what was going on. I knew exactly what was going on and who was doing it and why. I just felt like there was a little bit more reasoning put behind it, Like you said, a lot of heart and soul to it.
Missing.
Missing.
The characters lack character.
Like it's a technical marvel, but heart and soul wise pretty shallow. Sorry to say, it could heart emotionally. It's about as generic as all the. Not all, I didn't give it all the Marvel blockbusters. Sorry to say,
some Marvel ones has a lot.
I know, like I said, not all the Marvel.
DC lah.
Not too bad lah. That's too low already.
That's too low. Yeah, I guess that's too low.
You're not counting the Dark Knight trilogy lah, but yeah.
Yeah. So okay. What else do you want to see from Nolan or hope?
I want him to tackle a different genre. I mean, keep the time, like you said, keep the time travel thing. Yeah. But I want to see him try a different genre that's out of his element, but
horror.
Some twist. Horror,
maybe
he could work in horror, but horror. Okay, let's say.
I wanted to say romance comedy, but then
romantic comedy.
I don't really feel it lah. I think that's just too out there for him. But maybe
two scientists expositioning against one another about time, and then they fall in love.
Then you probably get Interstellar in the end.
But just funnier.
Yeah. With comedy lines.
Comedy. Like Nolan gets humor. He some of his humor can be very dry, but he gets it. So I would like to see him do like a comedy lah. Like
horror.
Not rom-com lah, but comedy. Horror. I mean,
because he can do thriller.
He can do thriller. Yes.
So just add a bit of haunting going on. Not gore lah, haunting lah. I don't expect like a Conjuring kind of horror, but maybe more of a haunting kind of horror.
A time traveling ghost.
Maybe. Because if you watch Haunting on the Hill House, it's actually somewhat a time travel haunting.
Okay.
Like the character is haunting herself in the past. If you watch that show, big spoiler there. Holy shit.
I think we should add like a spoiler disclaimer, but it's too late now. We spoiled the whole Tenet already.
I will add online later.
Okay. Alright. Well, I get what you mean. So I think probably could work. Horror could work. Comedy would work. I'm not sure about romance.
Musical?
No. I don't know how that's going to work. Nolan and musicals are like...
No. The Greatest Showman 2 by Christopher Nolan.
Oh, no.
Starring Hugh Jackman and...
Hugh Jackman. Prestige.
But the reverse Hugh Jackman is Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no.
That's the way to go.
That is trolling already.
Like moving in linear time will be Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, but then when they're moving backwards in time, they will flip their roles.
Oh my god.
And that will be the most confusing thing ever.
People gotta walk out of theaters, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I like to see him do something different. Maybe fantasy, who knows, you know?
Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he tackles fantasy.
Maybe.
I mean, time travel is a relatively scientific concept, but
Yeah.
it can apply to fantasy too, so we'll see. I like to see him do like a Sherlock Holmes movie, like an old-fashioned one.
Yeah, why
We'll
not?
see how he
Yeah,
does.
I think that's perfectly fine because he did Prestige.
How to
and
the
Insomnia.
Baskervilles or something, that could work, you know?
That'd be fine.
Or Jack the Ripper.
Maybe he do a teenage drama show.
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
I mean, he can just do like a groundhog time loop thing, but with a teenage drama.
Or might as well do a kids movie with time travel.
Animation lah, that. Just do a full animation lah. From a movie with no CGI shots to a full animation.
Oh no. Like what, Roger Rabbit? Oh my goodness.
Why not? Space Jam 2 is coming out, so why not? Dude?
Too vastly. How did we go from Nolan
You
to
know
Space
what?
Jam?
Mighty Ducks.
Oh no.
Holy shit! If Nolan does a Mighty Ducks movie, a sports movie, I would love it.
I don't know how that's gonna turn out.
Mhm.
I have no idea how. I absolutely
They're
can't
just
wait.
throwing the darts, man. Holy shit, Nolan doing Mighty Ducks. Wow. Damn.
That will be the day. That will be the day.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we had to talk about Nolan and Tenet. Unless you have anything else you want to.
No, I'm pretty much okay with Tenet at this point. I know we've already said what we need to say and made our piece. So yeah, just hoping the next Nolan film would be a lot better lah.
4 years wait minimum. Yeah. 4 years to wait, not to the movie, but just for the trailer to come out. We'll probably have to wait another year for the whole
movie.
marketing train to kick on. Yeah. So yeah, that disgruntled sigh from me is probably the best way I can. Very disappointed with Tenet lah. Okay, so this is our one last thing for this episode where we just share something, anything, food, the sky, the color of the sun, a movie, a show, whatever, a song, and yeah, we do this every episode. And yeah, you wanna go first?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do. Okay, it's actually both a book and a movie, but because both of them are so loyal to one another, it's very hard to distinguish what one. So the content is actually Silence by Shusaku Endo. First, it was a novel, and then it became two movies. First one was a Japanese movie in 1971, and the second, more faithful adaptation, was in 2016 by Martin Scorsese.
That's the one that you talk about.
And to my money, that is the best film of 2016, and the novel is equally as masterful. So the story basically revolves around this, I believe, Jesuit Catholic priest who is trying to solve the disappearance of his mentor, his and his colleagues' mentor, who went to Japan trying to spread the word of God in, let's say, the 1600s, 1700s, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth. So as he goes there, he realizes there is a big cultural and social-political clash between them trying to sow the seeds of their religion against a land where they already have their own set of ideals and beliefs. And then you get this very intellectual, spiritual debate between, you know, who's right and who's wrong, and what right you have to give to, what right do you have to actually spread your own beliefs against a land where they're already set firm on their own beliefs. So it's basically like, it's very controversial, but it is treated in a very respectful and a respectful manner which allows room for conversation.
I have never watched this movie, but I have watched Scorsese's masterclass, and he spoke about it before, about approaching controversial subjects. And just listen to him talk about the movie Silence, right? You could tell that he himself, as a Christian, he approached the movie in a very... He explored his own faith and his own belief of his religion. And it's just amazing lah. Like just listening to Scorsese talk and break it down about this movie, how he tried to ask questions that some people just don't even dare to ask. It was pretty interesting.
You could definitely see that his passion, his heart and soul poured into this thing, more so than any movie that he's made in the past decade, including The Irishman.
And I think it's worth mentioning the cast
Oh yeah,
Great cast.
great cast. Andrew Garfield, again, his second, already a good year for him because of Hacksaw Ridge, and he stars in this masterpiece, which is often overlooked. And then there's Adam Driver, Kylo Ren himself, and missing priest played by Liam Neeson.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn. No joke, is one of his best performances. Like in terms of his entire filmography, people think, oh, he's like Brian Mills, kick ass in the Taken movies. No, this is a very different Liam Neeson. The Liam Neeson we used to love, the acting legend Liam Neeson. But yeah, the whole movie, it puts you on edge on a spiritual way. It puts you in a situation where you think, can I do that? Am I willing to do that for God? Am I willing to not just stick to my own beliefs? Am I willing to forego my beliefs in favor of another? Or am I willing to hide it so much until I cannot bear that pain of spiritual torture anymore? So it's a very difficult film for some people to watch. It's a very tough film. It raises a lot of questions. It also raises a lot of self-discovery. It may induce some self-discovery in a lot of people. So I really believe this is one of the few movies that may actually help influence certain life decisions. In a way, it also helps add empathy towards other people with different beliefs, and then you can understand, okay, so this is where he's coming from. You don't necessarily agree with that person. You see it from their point of view.
Different perspective.
Yeah, a different
of things,
perspective.
yeah.
And then you realize that some things, they just can't be changed.
It's really good because when it comes to religion, something as sensitive as that, it's very easy for us to just believe in our own beliefs, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's also really difficult to be able to put yourself into another belief and see it from how they see it, and to understand and to accept how they see it. I think in this world, like you said, empathy, understanding, if anything that can add to that, it's great. It's just a great effort.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend it. It's actually one of the very few movies that I give a perfect score.
Again, the title and who?
Silence. The title of the book and the movie, Silence. The book is by Shusaku Endo. The good film adaptation, the American film adaptation, is by Martin Scorsese.
my one last thing would be on the opposite side of the spectrum, not so introspective as that. That's really great. I think it's one of the best one last thing I've ever heard in so far in the very few that we've done. So for my one last thing, it will be a movie called Sorry to Bother You. Director is Boots Riley. It's his first movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I thought about this because we talked about Tenet and Nolan, about movies that shouldn't be spoiled and plot twists. This is a movie that falls right under this category. Do not watch any trailers for this. It's called Sorry to Bother You again. It's a crazy freaking show. The less you know, the better.
Yes.
Because it will hit you from the left and the right when you don't even expect it.
Just browse the posters. Do not see the trailers.
Yes. Don't read about it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to sell. This is one movie that I'm going to talk about when we do the episode about recommending movies that has plot twists. Right? Okay. This movie it's like Get Out, where they explore racial themes, racism, black and white, but through horror. Whereas in Sorry to Bother You, they explore something else in a very quirky, cynical way. And what do they explore? This is why I say don't Google it, don't watch the trailers, because part of you as an audience trying to understand what the heck they're trying to talk about in that show is 3/4 the fun of it.
Yeah. So I'll put it in a different perspective. I saw this movie in your space, in Aminik's space. I went in cold. And when I got out, I just turned to Joey and I just said a flat, what?
It's great. If you want a wow movie, a movie that you might have to watch 2 times to understand, that's it lah. Sorry to bother you.
Oh yeah, man. Damn good stuff.
So that's my one last thing. And thank you for listening again. Tell us what you feel about Tenet. And yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.